The first area I will be addressing is in what ways does our media product challenge and address forms and conventions of similar media products. When we began the research and planning stage of the course, we decided to focus on the punk genre. This was because at the time we knew of a few local bands who may agree to let us use them. We were very lucky in that the very first band who we asked, Coursework City, agreed, and so we began to focus our efforts further on the pop-punk genre. Coursework City themselves are a local band, a local pop-punk band, with heavy influences from both alternative rock and grunge genres. This allowed us to expand and look further at a greater number of band influences later on. But firstly, we began by doing a brief background on the history of the punk genre, focusing on the pop-punk genre especially. Then we focused in great detail on an idealised audience. From typical fashion worn by both band and fans, audience diversity, typical target age and gender, the location of emergence of the genre, social backgrounds of bands and fans, and social interests. What we found was that the punk genre itself is massive and diverse, with the pop-punk genre being only a small subsection, and this resulted in a plethora of diversity in tastes among fans and artists. But in general, fans and artists would have a strong ethical belief. Because of this diversity, it was difficult to form a target audience, as for instance the typical age for punk fans is between 16 and 45. Quite a big gap. But these age groups, 16 to 25, typically listen to the post-punk resurrection of the genre, while the older listeners typically listen to old-school punk. Our results from researching these demographics allowed us to construct an idealised audience of target age of between 16 and 25. This was to appeal to a younger audience with more modern tastes. Creativity and innovation prevails in the punk genre, so as a result, an audience of particular taste will have to have been targeted, i.e. those who enjoy grunge, pop-punk and alternative rock-styled music. There is no idealised gender of the punk genre, and while males may be the majority of listeners, this is only by a small amount. All in all, an idealised audience is somewhat lower-class male and female who would enjoy the style of the band. This all correlates with the codes and conventions typical to the pop-punk genre. When we researched further, we discovered the various stereotypes surrounding the genre. From the assumption of typical fashion being leather studded jackets, green mohawks, piercings, full body tattoos, poor hygiene, having anti-establishment ethics, and so on. These images are from some of the more hardcore subgenres of punk, such as scum punk, and because of their negative portrayal by the media over the years, they have caused the audience today to believe that that is what the whole punk genre is about. Fashion was the next element we focused on, and again, we wish to challenge the common codes and conventions to a certain degree. Firstly, we wanted to avoid using the typically associated hardcore punk style of spiky hair, chains, full body ink. Instead, we decided to focus more on a skater punk style fashion, which, in contrast to earlier, develops from the forms and conventions of the pop-punk genre. Hoodies, t-shirts, band logo shirts, Converse and jeans are typical fashion styles that we will be using. Again, the band Coursework City further develops from the forms and conventions of these three genres, and their unique style of humour, light-hearted banter between band members, and strong roots and musical stylings further emphasise this. The product itself, that is the music video, greatly correlates with the codes and conventions of the pop-punk genre also. The storyboards and animatic helped us greatly to combine all of the conclusions we made from looking at similar artists and products, such as those by Green Day, Blink-182, Rise Against, and Alien Ant Farm. The greatest inspirations and conventions we learned from this was through the use of humour to convey taboo topics, in our case the banter between the band members while they drink. The use of an isolated environment for us being a practice studio, live performance being essential, group shots and exaggerated narratives, all of these inspirations allowed us to inform our final piece and further develop from the codes and conventions of the pop-punk genre. The video itself is all live performance, with the narrative weaved in between. The narrative is essentially a look at the band, how they interact with each other while practicing, and eventually transitioning to them all playing in front of an actual audience. Humour is used throughout, similar to that in Blink-182's All the Small Things. Throughout, shots typical of what would be seen in music videos from the same genre are used. Close-ups, group shots, shaky cam, tracking shots, framing shots, high angle shots, over the shoulder shots, and so on. The video begins with a desaturated color scheme similar to that in Rise Against music video. This later transitions to an oversaturation and high contrast color schemes, which again similar to American Idiot by Green Day. When the band is practicing and later on flashing and lighting effects are used to communicate that the band is playing in front of an audience in a live gig. Humor is used in time with the lyrics "I'm not drunk, I'm just feeling a little strange," which is also the name of the song in question. The video itself is of typical length of about 3.5 minutes and ends with the theme and the central prop of the video, a beer can, being thrown away after the band is finished performing. Once again, these elements are very typical to the codes, forms and conventions of similar products in the media. Next, I will be addressing the area of how effective the combination of our main product and auxiliary text are. The media product as a whole, that is, the music video, the digipack and the website, greatly correlate with the forms and conventions of similar products in the media industry today, similar to the likes of American Idiot. I think the combination of our main product and the ancillary text, that is website and digipack, work well together. We made sure from the start to thoroughly research numerous bands, websites and album art. From this we came to numerous conclusions. Firstly, there is a certain aesthetic style and unique to the pop punk genre. This is typically through the use of color schemes, often vibrant, and they often have a unique selling point to them. We also wanted to make sure it was a very integrated website, linking bios from the band, a working shop with merchandise we created, such as multiple coloured wristbands and t-shirts. We even put further emphasis on promoting the music video we created and the album art by displaying them in the store as well. The website itself is fully functional, having photos taken by us from a photo shoot, news updates, links for fictional tour dates, and the purchase of tickets, as well as digital downloads of the EPs and the album we designed. We also present the music video in the music section, as well as having the song itself play when you go onto the website for the first time. Again, links to Facebook and Twitter are presented to make the website itself seem more professional and correlate with the other media products we have created. With regards to the digipack, all images shown are taken by us, from the gas mask and the street lamps to the fretboard of the band playing. All images were first-hand sources. The front cover, the posterized gas mask, took great emphasis from Green Day's American Idiot album art. The color scheme correlates with codes and conventions of the genre and the scheme used in the music video and website alike, as does the punk-style font for the album name Chemical Attraction. We used Photoshop to create various overlays and screen cracked glass effect over the album. Then again, this was purely to make the album look more aesthetically pleasing and also used in the background for our website. We also used various small details such as the explicit warning again to make the product look more professional. The gas mask image was later photoshopped onto limited edition t-shirts for the store. Now on the back cover, we used an image we took during the photo shoot, altered the hue, and again we used similar overlays and screening process with the shattered glass effect for continuity. We also used the same font as the front cover for the song list, 7 unique songs and 2 limited edition covers, again to make the ancillary text seem more professional. It is also worth noting that the song we used for our music video, I'm Not Drunk, is also the first song on the list, again showing the correlation between texts. On the inside covers we have a dual image of the band playing a set with the unique colours of the band, purple and green. This colour set was used throughout the whole product. Next, we have 2 of the sides showing each of the 4 band members, with the final side housing the CD itself. For this, we used another image of the photo shoot, this time looking down the fretboard of one of the band members' guitar. We altered the colours by desaturating them to make them look similar to the opening scene of the music video. We again used the same shattering effect and superimposed the album name and band logo we created over the CD, while using the overlay effect on Photoshop. This digipack is heavily featured throughout the website also. With regards to audience feedback, midway through the research and planning section, we decided to create a series of surveys. First thing we wanted to make absolutely clear were that these surveys were only to gauge what the people thought of the various genres and how they interacted with the bands they listened to. It was never intended to be a glorified or cheap method of targeting an audience or a reason for us to do stuff. Rather, we used these surveys to come to many conclusions about both artists and fans alike. Firstly, we constructed a general music video survey and sent it out to numerous people of varying age groups. We made sure to cover as many demographics as possible throughout this method of distribution, but we fully understood that this method itself was also very biased, as essentially we were only covering a relatively small population size who we chose to actually give the sample to. One thing we found quite interesting was that most people, while having heard of the punk or rather pop punk genre, didn't actually listen to any of the bands on a regular basis. This showed some correlation with the genre being a niche area. Some other information we gained was that those who did listen to the genre were typically between 16 and 25 years old, and they all interacted with their favourite artists in unique ways. After this, we targeted a more concentrated audience. We created unique band surveys. Again, we fully realised the bias in these surveys, and they were only meant as a guideline of sort to extract data. Numerous band surveys were also created so we could see how fans of different genres and bands interacted. One unique thing we found was that fans of the punk genre typically were engaged by aesthetically pleasing and exaggerated visuals, and when a band has a certain uniqueness surrounding them. We used this data from the surveys and fan feedback as a rough guideline for both the basic codes and conventions that fans would expect to see in a music video for the punk genre. Later in the process of designing the storyboards and the latter animatic, we asked the bands and various other fans of the pop punk genre to give feedback on what they like or what they felt was omitted that should be included. Most feedback we got was that the animatic itself was engaging, modern, very punkish in style, aesthetically pleasing and interesting. The colour change and narrative live performance link was also particularly well received, as well as the 360 rotation shot, which unfortunately was later cut due to complications. Yet we learned a lot from the criticism as well. It was through this that we later altered and extended the duration of the practicing and tuning stages of the video, altered the colour scheme from black and white to desaturated, and introducing a third colour scheme during the live performance section of the music video. Other crucial pieces of feedback were gained at this stage. Extra lighting was recommended, as well as other props such as framed beer shots, a smoke machine, and the removal of the smoking machine at the start. All this feedback ultimately allowed us to alter certain elements of our final product, and for the better. We were able to procure a smoke machine and a very professional grade lighting kit with alternating colours. This allowed for a very vibrant punk style atmosphere throughout the whole punk video. Finally, after showing the audience the final product, the feedback again was quite invaluable, especially to the construction of the album art and website. We learned that the smoke machine was well received, as was the colour schemes and live performance scenes. The close-up of the guitar in particular was also well received, and the reception caused us to use a similar shot in the website on the back cover of the digipack, as well as in individual shots of the band, which also influenced us to do a similar thing on the album art as well. The next stage involved having feedback for both ancillary texts. Firstly, with regards to the digipack. Early on, we knew the style we would attempt to replicate using elements from various artist albums and through fan influence, and so we designed the front cover. When we showed this to an audience, the feedback we gained allowed us to remove the image of the lion on the left side of the face from the front to retain partial image of the gas mask. This was for pure aesthetics. The website itself was designed in a similar fashion. We used audience feedback throughout the process, and various alterations were made throughout, such as the streamlining of features, the creation of extra items in the store, and the presentation of the homepage. This allowed for a more aesthetically pleasing final product. The main audience who we did show this to throughout the entire process was again the band members and fans alike. With regards to media technologies used throughout the process, we used a lot of different mediums to both research, present, plan, and eventually evaluate our final products. In the planning and research section, we used an abundance of websites to gather information, ranging from Wikipedia, YouTube, band websites, album art sites, designing websites, Facebook, Twitter and other social media sites like Bandcamp to further research our band. Using the Web 2.0 through the use of a MacBook Pro was only the beginning of our use of media technologies. In this stage we also used apps like Live Text to attempt to create fonts, PowerPoint and Keynote to create and present the data we found through researching the genre. We also used survey generator websites during this process, such as Survey Planet and SurveyMonkey. Mobile and Facebook app distribution and analysis of this data was used throughout this process as well. Also, we decided to make a few prezzies to help us with the presentation of band research data. These were later presented to our media class for further feedback. This helped us further expand our research. Blogger was arguably the most valuable use of the Web 2.0 we used, as it acted as a central hub of sorts for us to collect, analyse and present our research and planning data. We used this to set up time plans, timetables and other relevant data that needed planned and presented throughout the process. Later in this process we used pen and paper to create the storyboards, and later took pictures using a HD camera and transferred these images to Final Cut Pro X and edited the cuts to fit the song for the creation of the animatic. Motion was also briefly used in this section as well. We went really heavy on scene transitions at this point to make the animatic appear more visually interesting, yet still keeping with the forms of the punk genre, from blurs, flashes to more unconventional digital transitions, etc. We later uploaded this animatic to YouTube and showed it to others to get further feedback through social media. When it came to actually filming the video, we used 3 separate HD cameras, 2 mobile phones and a standard definition digital camera. Each member filmed a continuous shot lasting around 5 to 10 minutes throughout the entire session, and eventually during the editing portion we chose the best and clearest shots, which ended up being the clearest and highest definition camera. At this point we were able to use our knowledge gained from watching other music videos through apps such as iTunes, YouTube and VidZone to set up shots. We also attempted to use the slow motion function on an iPhone 5S for one portion of the session as well. When it came to editing the video, we used numerous forms of media technology. Most prominently was Final Cut Pro X. Again, we used various lighting effects in this program, from desaturation, vibrancy, glow and glory effects, flashes and so on. When it came to transactions, we know we didn't want to overuse them, and so we only used a brief few, namely the Gaussian blur at the start and the static transition when the narrative switches. The digipack itself involved a lot of Photoshop usage, as well as Live Font, and the website DaFont itself was also used. Research was done through the likes of Google Images and apps like Spotify which show album art. Planning has likewise been consistently updated and shown on Blogger. This was also the case for the website. Likewise, the website research involves scouting Google, websites like Reverb Nation, and a lot of band, namely punk style band, homepages. We initially created numerous websites on a multitude of sites, from social media style Reverb Nation to 4.4 and eventually Wix, which was a web designing engine we ended up sticking with. Again, Photoshop was used to create fonts and images across the site. Photoshop was also used to create our t-shirts and wristbands shown on the website store. Finally, the evaluation stage. I began this stage by accumulating all my and the group's data from the start of this course, which has all been presented on Blogger, and through analysis I have come to various conclusions stated in this evaluation video. I created a rough script of this evaluation using Microsoft Word and later ported it to Blogger. I then filmed myself using a MacBook Pro built-in camera and used various IT techniques throughout the process to make the video more informative, interesting and engaging.